If you're a certified teacher, one of the best ways to teach abroad is in an international school. I sat down with expert Justine Readings to learn what it's like to teach abroad in an international school and how it's different from teaching in a school in your home country or TEFL teaching. If you're a licensed teacher, then you won't want to miss this interview. Well, thank you, Justine, so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to hear all about the world of international schools.
Super excited to be here.
What is an international school, and what is the difference between TEFL teaching and international schools?
An international school is really built for the expat community, and it's mainly for companies that are bringing in families from overseas. So it's usually got a expat curriculum. So it will have, say, a British curriculum or an American curriculum, or there might be an international curriculum like PYP or IP is a specific one. And they're designed for families that are coming in and out who need their education primarily in English. You're not dealing with locals who are trying to learn a second language. You're actually dealing with expats from other countries who might be struggling with the host language, but English is the base for everybody.
What qualifications are required to teach in international schools?
On the whole, just your regular teaching qualification that you would have in your country of origin, mainly a bachelor's. They'd be looking for that level probably, or whatever is normally required. The main requirement is really registration. So you'd have to be legally registered in your country of origin, and you'd have to apply then for whatever registration requirements are required in your new country. The school will do that for you, go through all that legal process, but you have to have all your home documents in place ready for them to just transfer them over. The only other thing is if you do want to specialize, like because some international schools will have English second language learners as well. So if you want to specialize in that, you'll need a qualification in that. If you want to specialize in a particular subject area, they might want you to have some extra training around that. But on the whole, it's just your general teaching qualifications.
So when I taught in Spain at an international school, I'm a certified teacher from the US for Spanish, but I ended up teaching preschool and primary. So in your experience, have you seen where maybe a teacher is qualified to teach one subject, but they end up teaching a different one?
Where I come from, our elementary degree will teach, you can teach anything basically once you've got that elementary degree. And so they'll shift you from grade to grade, subject to subject. In a secondary school, it's mainly you'll be trained in one particular curriculum area, so you'll follow that. I think the biggest shift would be around the different types of curriculum, and that's what people need to get their heads around, I guess. If they've only ever taught, say they come from the States, they may have only ever taught an American style curriculum. Once you see a British curriculum or an international curriculum, it's quite a different pedagogical base and philosophy base. And so that's the biggest shift. It might not just be the curriculum area, but the whole philosophy around how you approach it and how the curriculum is structured, that could be quite different. Be prepared to be flexible, can be a huge learning curve, but also terribly exciting as a teacher to learn, all these different ways of approaching curriculum. It's really, really mind-blowing, I guess. It lights that passion back up into you again.
What kinds of benefits and salaries can teachers expect in international schools?
It ranges greatly between the school. So a huge difference between schools. And that mainly depends on where the school is located and the wealth of the school. So you could be going to a small school that's got what seems like quite a small salary compared to your home salary. But what you can't compare dollar for dollar or euro against dollar, or even the conversion rate, because you're also looking at cost of living. So in some schools in Asia, if you're going to a very small country or small school, your wage might not seem very high, but because of your cost of living, you're going to get more for your money. So you got to check your taxes, you've got to check all those extra costs as well, and then look at, okay, what am I going to get left over in my pocket? You might go to another school and you get really fantastic pay, but the cost of living is much higher and it's not going to go so fast. International teachers do get paid fairly well for what they do. Your standard package should include your fare, your airfare over, your airfare home, and it should include a little bit of money for transporting furniture as well, relocation costs, those sorts of things. So that's pretty standard. Other contracts will have an additional flight included for you and your family. Most contracts, if you have children, you should get a nice discount on the fees. School fees for your children. A lot of contracts, especially in the Asian countries, will include accommodation and housing. And then you might also get a little bit more allowance on top of that for electricity, etc., those sorts of things. It's best kind of just to do your research and work that out for yourself, because while it seems really great, the contract might include accommodation, it means you've lost your choice over where you live. You live where they put you, which sometimes is wonderful, other times is restricting.
From my experience too, I transitioned from TEFL teaching to international schools. I actually got my job offer while I was already living in Spain. So if that happens, you do miss out on those benefits. So no airfare, no moving allowance and things like that. So just something to keep in mind. So tell us a little bit about your experience working in international schools. So where have you worked and what positions have you held?
I started in Indonesia. I was teaching principal at a small school there. And then I managed to raise it was very small, 70 students when I started.
Oh, wow.
And I increased the number of students, and we were 130, I think, when we left. So then I was able to transition into full-time principalship there. So I had 4 years in Indonesia and absolutely loved it. It was amazing. I did things that I would never have done at home. I climbed mountains. I ran half marathons. I rode a motorbike. I just put myself out there and it was absolutely amazing, just incredible. And from there, I then moved to Japan and I had 2 years there in an international school in Tokyo. So that was a big shift from a relatively small city in Indonesia to Tokyo, which was full on from developing country to fully, it's Tokyo, it's a city. And so just, again, incredible, and did a lot of travel from there too. And I had my daughter with me while I was traveling. So that was beautiful to watch her go she went from 14 years old up to 19 years old, just experiencing all of that. I'm in awe of the time that we had. It was just wonderful. And then I moved to Europe. So I came to Germany just before the COVID lockdown, and had almost a year in Germany before then, which was fabulous, getting used to the European lifestyle, quite different from Asia. And next stop is Montenegro. So I'm on my way to Montenegro very soon in the upcoming school year. So I can't wait for that.
Where can people find international jobs? So they're beginning their job search. Where should they start looking?
I always recommend going through the agencies as your first port of call. So there's quite a few of them. Teach Anywhere, Search Associate, Seek, TESTest.com. There's quite a few, and they're well worth looking at because they all have different services. Often you'll get some agencies where they'll actually assign someone to you, and especially if you're in more looking towards leadership roles, and they'll help you with those applications, because you could be one of several. So if you can get an agent that will help you through, that's really valuable too. Another place is job fairs. A lot of international schools will go, now that the corona period's over, job fairs are coming back up. So my school's just been in London over the weekend looking for recruiting there and scouting there for new teachers. If you've never been to a job fair before, it's well worth going to once. Very interesting places to go to. Kind of weird. It's kind of like speed dating with your CV. There's all these principals lined up, and you go along your line with your CV and sort of sell yourself in 5 minutes, and off you go. But definitely worth going to, because you get to see a huge range of schools from different countries, and you can be selective as well as the principals be selective. You can, of course, just research the schools yourself, go straight onto their websites. A lot of them will list in their vacancies when they come up, but that does require you to be quite constant going on there a lot looking for stuff. Whereas if you list yourself with an agency, they will send the emails to you. If you happen to know somebody, word of mouth is a really good place, because to find positions, because then you'll know the school as well. You'll know how to pitch yourself. You'll know what to look for. So that's another good way to go to. Just reach out and ask. Go onto Facebook, find some groups, reach out and ask.
That's how I got my position. I was teaching in Spain as an assistant, but I did a master's program there, and my friend was working at an international school. Then when they needed new teachers that were certified, my name came up. So yeah, I would say definitely, if you are a certified teacher and you're doing language assistant programs or teach abroad programs, network, see what's out there, because you may be able to access those international schools that way too, especially if you're trying to stay in your country and you're just having a great time and looking for other opportunities. What are some of the pros and cons of teaching in international schools?
Culture shock is probably something that people can sometimes underestimate. If you've never left your country before, it can be a little bit confronting when you realize that some of the things that you took for granted as normal aren't normal anymore. And some of the things that you thought were just like, well, that's rude, it's actually normal in that culture. So, getting used to that can take a little while. And so there is a bit of a dip that people go through in the first 3 to 6 months, where they start to, have I made a big mistake? Am I ever going to adjust? What have I left behind? And that can be tricky. So just as long as people are aware of that, know that it's coming, know that it's normal, and have prepared for it by getting a network around them, then it's okay. It's actually can be a pro. You learn a lot about yourself in that process, which is always a good thing. It's always a learning curve in an international school. And so that can be energy draining. It's not just in that it's a learning curve and that you're learning to adjust, but just going outside in your everyday life. There's not the things that you would normally find in the supermarket. You can't understand the chatter around you. You can't read the signs around you unless you're fluent in that language already. And so that's tiring. If you're trying to learn the language, it's tiring just constantly translating. And it's tiring just knowing that you're just that little bit different. So in that first couple of years, it can be quite energy draining. Having said that, on the flip side, it's also invigorating to know that you've got all these opportunities and new things around you to learn from. Also, some of the cons of small schools, the community itself is very, very small. So like I said, the school that I was in, Semarang, 70 students, and of course some of them are siblings. So you're only talking about 40 odd families.
Oh, wow.
And so your network is tiny. And so some of those families also might have children of teachers at the school, and some of them are board members. So your privacy gets a little bit blurred. The lines between professional life and personal life get a bit blurred. So again, pros and cons. Sometimes you just feel like maybe you can't escape a wee bit. And then on the flip, in the huge cities, if you've never coped with them, some people might adjust very differently to that. That feels isolating to some people. So again, it's about getting to know yourself, right? So this can be something exciting too. It's like, I didn't know that about myself. Pros is just exactly what I just said about all the cons. There's always something new to learn, always something new to learn. So many amazing opportunities out there, so many people to help you along the way and support you and for you to learn from. The expectations of you as a professional are quite high, which again can be a little bit tiring. On the other hand, you're getting better as a teacher every single day.
What is different about leadership in international schools?
The budget's different, right? And that gives you a lot of autonomy, which can be quite freeing, but also comes with a big responsibility. So you have to know a lot about money management. You have to know about reporting on budgets, and you're making a lot of decisions that might normally have been made by a state for you. You also have to sort of get your head around a lot of legalities, health restrictions, legal things that might not be the same in your home country. So there's a lot of learning about those sorts of things. Also, there's differences in the staff that you're working with, you've got teachers coming in from all different countries with all different sort of expectations about how things work. All different expectations about what a classroom should look like. So making them gel as a group is a really important part of leadership in international schools. They're also all adjusting to the country at different stages. So you might have some of them going through emotional ups and downs. So you need to be quite aware of how you support your teachers in terms of their well-being and those sorts of things as well. Another thing, of course, is just the community is transient. A lot of the students are coming in for only a couple of years while their parents are on a work contract, and then they're off again. Same with the teachers, might only be there for a couple of years. So you're constantly recruiting for new students to try, and because you have to earn those students to get that money. The reason there's budgets there is because of the students, not through government funding. So it's constant recruitment for students and marketing for teachers that are trying to move into a leadership position. They're not really things that you have to think about when you're teaching in the classroom. And teachers themselves have these sort of innate leadership skills and characteristics, but they maybe don't have some of the strategies and tools for working with budgets, for working with marketing, those things. Yeah. And so that's actually what I've been working on at the moment, is a course for teachers that are interested in going into leadership. Because I really think we need leaders who are still close to the classroom. That's coming up on my website in the next few months. I'm hoping people will sort of tune into my website and look out for it there.
Where can viewers find you? So your website, is there anywhere else that people can look to find you?
Yeah, look for me on LinkedIn as well. So just look for my name, Justine Readings, and that's my website too, www.justinereadings.com. Everything's under my name, and people are welcome to email me. Quite open. People just email me straight in if they've got any questions.
Perfect. Well, I will put all of Justine's links down below. So if you want to get in contact, that's where they will be. So thank you so much. Today was, I think, a very different topic for my channel, but I think it's a very good one, especially for certified teachers or people thinking about it. So thanks, Justine, for coming on today.
Welcome. Most welcome.